I was born too late. You are listening to Al Bowley with the Ray Noble Orchestra, Midnight, the Stars, and You. And doesn't that seem appropriate for our Art Deco tarot cards? What do the stars have for us? Great. Well, let's move on to the major arcana, cards 6 through 10. And 6 is the Lovers. And I decided to actually create two contrasting lovers cards. Many LGBT, including myself, kind of get annoyed that, when you're doing a romantic reading, it's always just heterosexual relationships. And obviously, there's all kinds of relationships out there. And I wish I had had the ability to even create more cards. I did a heterosexual couple and a gay male couple. I wanted to do a lesbian couple and a transsexual couple, but I didn't have enough cards within the formatting because it's 78 cards in the deck. And so I wasn't able to do that. But I also believe that the cards are a reflection of the artist, and so I feel they reflect me. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Lovers card today. And when you pull the Lovers, it can mean romantic love. So the Lovers represent the synthesis of dualities, polarities and oppositions coming together. To truly be in a spiritually aware romantic relationship with someone, it's about understanding that you are already complete in yourself. If you are two people choosing to be romantically together because you complement each other's life and help each other grow, that's a healthy relationship. If you're looking for someone to take care of you, there's a lot of those kind of codependent relationships. If you're looking at someone to complete you, these are kind of toxic. What's very interesting is if you look at the way relationships were from the 1920s to the 1950s, there was, especially in the conservative 50s, this idea of you get married, you pump out children, and your husband or your wife completes you. And we know now with our spiritual awareness that we are already God. And therefore, when we come together into a new energy relationship, it's again about recognizing that there is no illusion of duality, that we are one and we are coming together to share a relationship with someone out of love and not out of need. And if you are looking for a relationship out of need, that's not a relationship, that's a codependency. You will see a lot of times, especially in the gay community, older men that are lonely and they support a younger man, what we call the daddy son kind of thing. It happens also in the straight community with older men marrying younger women or vice versa, older women marrying younger men. And not that there can't be love with that. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying there's a lot of times people are are going into relationships to do power games and to use each other. The older person might want a trophy husband or a trophy wife, the beautiful girl or guy on the arm. And the younger person that maybe is new to creating abundance might want help. Living rent free, or help with schooling or things like that. So these kind of relationships can be very toxic, but it doesn't mean that you can't love whoever you choose to love. It's very interesting in my life. My first husband, and I consider my soulmate, was 13 years older than me. And we met quite young. I was 15 when I met him, and he was actually 28. and we were together for 10 full years. But, I was not a typical 15-year-old. I was already in a noted new wave band. I was a music director of a church. I was performing jazz all over the Southland. I was making great money. I had a career. And also, my IQ at the time was different. I was more advanced. I didn't relate to people my own age usually. And so it's interesting that relationship worked. I'm not saying that's right for everyone, but it does. And there's a lot of people. I have a friend who was 30 years old when she met her husband that was 60 years old. And they were together 30 years, and her husband just passed at 90, whatever he was, 92 or something like that. They were together 30 years. And everybody said, oh, it's just, some, older guy looking for a trophy wife. But they were really in love. So, we shouldn't judge, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself in your relationships, are you choosing healthy relationships, or are you choosing, power games and codependencies? The lovers represent, again, this idea of balance. So besides romantic relationships, it can include any relationship. So, when you pull the lover's card, it could be dealing with marriage and divorce. It could be relationships at work. It could be siblings. It could be family, things like that. And it's always about teamwork, coming together and unifying as one. It's about cooperation. It's about, give and take. Nobody, of course, is perfect. We're all different, and we all have our own idiosyncrasies, and can we balance that? Just to give you an example in my own relationship, again, my first husband was my soulmate, but there were some things that we were very different on. I'm plant-based vegan. He was a steak eater, but he was very respectful, and we worked things out in our relationship. Where Wednesday night was his steak night with his buddies or whatever, and I didn't have to see it and hear about it, and he didn't always have to eat the plant-based stuff I made for him. Interestingly enough, he did die of cancer, and it was related to some of his meat eating, but that was his choice, unfortunately. Anyway, and then also, I'm not really a pet person. I'm a neat freak, and not that I would ever hurt an animal. Like I said, I'm plant-based vegan, but I don't really choose to live with cats. And my partner had a cat, but he was very respectful. We had to compromise, and that's what relationships are about: give and take, and hearing and listening and being there. It's very interesting because even though we think on some levels in our modern world that, we are, so much more alternative now with all these different types of, the gay community is much more open, and transsexualism and pansexual and all these different things, and we're so much more open, but, still divorce is the highest it's ever been in our country. And most people I know have been on, that are heterosexual couples have been on their third and fourth marriage and things like that. And, like I said, it is difficult in the modern world to maintain long-term relationships. And the relationships that work is about honoring each other as I am God also. What's very interesting, and I have to look at my own parents that were married in 1957 with that "you complete me" idea, but they were both very strong spiritual beings, both Christian, and they kind of had that belief, but they honored each other's spirituality. They honored that, my husband is God, my wife is goddess. And they respected each other even when they had differences of opinion. And what I find fascinating with my own parents, which were amazing role models, is I never saw my parents really fight. They would have a disagreement, but I never heard arguing. I never heard abusive words ever with my parents. And my parents were married 63 years till my dad's passing last year in November. And soulmates, and the reason why they were soulmates is they complemented each other's life path. My mom was an only child, and one thing she wanted was a big family, and that's what my dad wanted. And both of my parents were artists. My dad was a musician, my mom was a musician. They had that in common. And both of them were highly intellectual and wanted to raise kids that were brilliant, so I was very fortunate. And I really admire that. I had a gay couple. One of them passed away that I met in the religious science church. My friend Steve and Carlos, and they were a gay couple, and I think they were together 40 years. Soulmates too, and so a lot of times, unfortunately, in the gay community, we're taught that you can't find, lasting love, or you have to fall into this thing of not having monogamy or having an open relationship. And who says? And if you choose to have an open relationship and that works for you, that's your choice. But what I'm saying is a lot of times, gay people, because we don't have the same rights. A lot of people are living in places where, there's still places in the world. My last partner was from Russia, and actually died. It was tragic. He died in with the Ukraine conflict. But I learned a lot from his life. He was a fabulous ballet dancer, and it was just really interesting things he told me about being a teenager and being gay in Russia. And he says, you walk down the street in the wrong color and you could be arrested, you could be shot. And I just go, oh my God, I can't even imagine that. So different than my upbringing in California as a teen, where I was out to my friends. All my friends and teachers knew my partner. I even took my partner to prom. It was like a totally different lifestyle. I have friends, though, that grew up in the South that are my age and dealt with horrific homophobia and abuse. I even have a friend, was tragic, where his father tried to set him on fire just because he was gay, and just crazy ass stuff. And, so what we want to do with the lovers is really come together in honor of our relationships, and listening, and not being in judgment. There's going to be times that we are different. We see things different. The problem with the world, and we're still having world wars and stuff, is people, I'm right, you're wrong kind of mentality. And what the lovers teach us is that we're all the same, and we can work together, and we can compromise. The lovers also represent Gemini, the twins and the duality. So sometimes when that comes up, we'll get that. If you look at my two lovers cards, we have on the hetero couple, we have a lady flapper in a soft, beautiful pink with a finger wave, and her handsome blonde husband or partner in a white tuxedo surrounded by pink roses. Pink roses is love. On the gay card, we have a blonde gentleman with someone with dark hair. And, it's interesting. I'm always attracted to blondes, and my soulmate was blonde, and I'm dark hair. So that kind of is a little bit of representation of me on the cards there. Roses, again, are my favorite flowers. Pink roses are obviously the love vibration. And I apologize for not creating a lesbian card or a transsexual card, and I honor your relationships as well. Okay, let's move on. Now to card 7. In my deck, I call it the chauffeur. In traditional decks, it's called the chariot. And the chariot represents travel. But, I wanted to do a 20s modern version. So in my version, we have this sexy starlet in this beautiful wine burgundy color, and she has her Rolls Royce limo, and she has her chauffeur, and she's going places. And that is what the card means. So my chauffeur card, or in traditional decks is sometimes called the chariot, is the mover. And it's not only travel, but it can mean movement forward in your life. So when you pull this card, like this woman could be like, oh, I'm moving up in the world. I'm moving to my, 3-story Manhattan townhouse overlooking Central Park. Maybe she's, like I'm getting in my car and I'm going to drive out to LA and get a second home. So it could be, creating a new home environment. It can mean change, like something new is happening. It could be a career change. It could mean new projects, new hobbies and passions. The chariot is again this idea of movement, and that could be movement in any area of your life. So you can pull this card and you might be asking a question about love and say, yeah, you're moving forward, you're attracting that love to you. It could be like, should I change careers? It's like, yeah, perfect time to change. You're moving forward into something better. It could be profound healing. You've been sick and all of a sudden you're well and you're ready to get on with life. So again, this has many connotations, but it can also just mean travel, taking a vacation, taking time for yourself. And it also represents doing it with joy. If you look at this woman, she's out on the town. She's probably, going to go see a Broadway musical and then, go have supper at the top of some, the Rainbow Room or something. And just, she's on the town. She's having fun. She's meeting new people. And if you notice with her too, it's okay to be single and be doing this. Life's an adventure. Doesn't matter if you're coupled or if you're alone. You can still enjoy life and get out there. And she doesn't need it. She's an independent, thoroughly modern Millie. She's like, I don't need anybody. I'm going to go out and meet new people and enjoy life. And if I take a lover, great. And if not, that's great. And I'm just going to explore. And there's this kind of sense of adventure with the chariot, exploring, trying new things as well. Love her. And I love that color. That's one of my favorite colors too, is that deep wine Merlot color. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now to a really fun card and one of my favorite cards. I call this Spa. And you see totally my dream guy, a hot, hunky, Germanic blonde, at this spa, and he's just rejuvenating. He's taking care of himself. And in traditional decks of the major arcana, the number 8 card is sometimes called adjustment or balance. And what it means, and again, I changed it over to spa, which was something very 20s. People would go off to their health spas or the mineral baths and take care. There was a movement towards beauty and health and taking care of your body, and that felt appropriate. I modeled this after a spa I go to out in Corona, California. It's called Glen Ivy. I love to go out there and do the mineral mud baths and champagne sulfur baths and just detox, and just relax. And it looks very much like that, just rejuvenating spa. And anyway, so the card, it means like you're able to adjust. You're able to eliminate. It's fasting, it's diet, it's cleansing. It can mean, when you pull this card, a need for more balance, clearing the old out. It can mean balancing your checkbook and eliminating debt. It can mean like you need organization and planning, letting go of habits, people, or things that do not support your highest good. Eliminating those toxic people out of your life, cultivating relationships that need healing, connecting with people that can love you unconditionally. So like adjustment could be like, let's say you come from a family that is toxic, or people are judging you, or you are in a space of not being able to be loved unconditionally. You get to create your own family. And, this guy that we see, this beautiful blonde man, he's like, okay, I'm working on my body. I love myself. I'm taking time for myself. And maybe he's single. He's like, who knows who I'm going to meet at the spa. I'm going to just love myself. And we're under a lovely pink sky that represents love. And, there's new potentials. I might meet my soulmate here. And I'm going to attract someone who also cares about their body and is in a love vibration instead of the toxic people that maybe he had to eliminate. Maybe his family didn't accept him. Maybe he dealt with judgment from his community for his choices, and he is like, nope, I'm going to put myself first. I love this card. This is a card that I'm good at. I am very good at setting boundaries with people, retreating, taking care of myself. In fact, as I write this today, there was some toxicity in the environment and some COVID and flus going around, and I started to feel a little off, nothing severe. But I said, you know what, today I'm going to get acupuncture and I'm going to do a fast and a detox. And I just got back from my acupuncture appointment. I had a spa facial and did some healing things and went and got some juice. And now I'm back home and recording this. So it's that self-love time. Can you take time for yourself? And one thing, too, is your home is an indicator if you need adjustment. Do you live in a beautiful, luxurious, well put together home, or do you live in squalor? Are you a pat rack? Are you a hoarder? Do you live in filth? Is your house, drabby and depressed? Do you have beautiful beautiful flower arrangements and plants in your home and life, or does your environment make you feel bad? So your car, if you drive, do you have a luxurious, comfortable car with beautiful music that supports your soul, or you get in your car and there's, fast food wrappers on the floor and ants and filth, and you never wash your car and you never take care of it? When you go out, are you dressed fashionably and wearing colors that look good for your skin tone and make you feel good? And are you reflecting who you are in your style? Or do you just not care and throw on a dirty t-shirt? You have a choice. So these are indicators. And this card, when you pull it, could be like, it might be time for spa, might be time for some self-love and adjustment. And that's why I love this card, okay? The spa card. Another favorite card, which is definitely my archetype, is the meditation. And in the original tarot deck, the 9 card is the Hermit. And the 9 number sort of represents completion. Like, you've done the doing, now it's time to rest. And I'm good at that. Like, I love being a hermit. Like, it was interesting that during COVID, when people were going crazy, like, oh my God, I'm stuck in my home, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm like, oh, fabulous. I don't have to see people. I stay at home vacation. And I focused on remodeling my home and making it my temple. And it was fabulous. I spent the COVID years renovating and getting beautiful furniture and antiques and upgrading my life, so to speak. And I put all my effort into creativity in my work, and I had one of the best financial years I ever had. And I said, I'm going to use this time to go inward and meditate and do yoga and do breath work and do spa days of soaking in in Epsom bath in the tub and getting massages and studying languages that I love. Like I study French, German, and Italian, and writing books and doing the tarot art and projects and recording albums and all these fun things, and we have a choice. And the Hermit is about, when you pull this card, you need to slow down. In this card, I love this woman. We see this beautiful auburn woman sitting in her beautiful Art Deco townhome with this beautiful rose pink color. She's in pink. Pink is the self-love. And what is she doing? She's just being. She's sitting there having her cup of tea, which is one way I unwind. I'm a tea person too. And she's sitting and, maybe she's just listening to music. and just being, and, we don't have to do all the time. And she's just enjoying maybe the fruits of her labor. We can see she's in a luxurious townhouse, or with the, beautiful, luxurious furniture. And she's wearing a beautiful gown, and she's got jewels. And she's like, you know what? I worked hard for this. Now I get to enjoy it. Now I get to unwind. The hermit is the meditator, the philosopher. It's the wise sage. It's the wise man, or the witch, or the wizard, staying true to the self-reflection, letting go of the past, not staying stuck wallowing in the past or living in the future. It's about beautifying your home, healing your body, taking time for yourself, time to be alone, time to hibernate, working with this card for spiritual growth, releasing ancestral karma and trauma. It's a form of spiritual maturity. You understand, I am that I am. I don't have to do, I can be. And that is one of the magics of this card too, is people think, I gotta make money, I gotta struggle, I gotta work hard. Well, you can work smart. Who says you have to work hard? One of the biggest shifts in my life was going from working hard and working 3 jobs just to make ends meet to working smart and allowing to where I only work a 20-hour week, 25-hour week. And I make more money than I did as a university professor, for example. It's like our choice. But unfortunately, our world is not set up to teach us this. So if you're in that space where you're like, I'm not sure what to do, sometimes when you just take time to be quiet and shut your mind down, the answers come. You'd be like, oh, I didn't think of that. Let me try that. Or, oh, that's an answer. Slowing down and listening to your intuition. Okay, so meditation and the hermit. Absolutely adore her, and we have a choice. It's interesting to see my friends that are never sick and have all the time in the world to enjoy life, and those that run themselves into the ground. And it's just a mental thing. They're stuck. And sometimes when you can finally shut your mind down, you can heal things. I don't mind sharing that I used to suffer from very severe panic attacks, anxiety disorder, and neurological conditions. And I would get in these mental loops. But, I look at my life back then. I had tons of toxic people I was allowing to influence my life. I had crazy makers. I had, people, around me. What if this happens? What if that? And I literally had to be hospitalized before I was ready to change. I had to get that sick. I had to be on, it was toxic too. I was on, before I became holistic, I was on Xanax and Prozac and all that crap, and drinking alcohol and doing stuff just to mask over my feelings of not being loved unconditionally, losing my partner, things that were happening in my life at that time. And I healed all that up. And do we have days that are anxious? Yeah, everybody does. But I don't have an anxiety disorder anymore. I've been able to heal that up. And I feel that what healed that up is every day I meditate. I do, one thing I do is 30 minutes of Wim Hof and pranayama, just breathing. I do another half hour of yoga meditation. I then do yoga. I do my cardio work. And then in the evening, I light candles and unwind and turn off, media and meditate again before I go to bed. And I think that practice, you just are super energized and clear and grounded. And one of my rituals is tea. I'm a tea person, and just sitting and having a cup of tea and relaxing, or sitting with a cup of tea with a friend in intimate, beautiful conversation of really listening and being there and sharing is a beautiful thing. Okay, and that's what this woman's doing. She's sitting there having her beautiful cup of tea. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we've reached the 10 of the major arcana. Fortune, or sometimes in the Thoth deck and other decks, it's called Wheel of Fortune. And I love this card. If you look at my card, we got this sexy, guy, kind of like a Clark Gable with a mustache, and he's in like some fabulous Art Deco casino. He's living lavishly. We know he's well dressed. We know he's a tycoon. And he's not worried about finances. He understands that true abundance is about allowing it. I am abundant. End of story. He doesn't think, oh God, if I put like, $100 down at blackjack, I'm going to lose it. How am I going to pay my rent? He's not in lack consciousness. He is in abundance consciousness. And when you pull the fortune card, what it's showing you is where is your consciousness? Are you the type of person that is like, well, if I can just get a job to pay my rent and just get by, then I'll be happy. If I can just get a job, even if I hate it, just so I can pay my bills. Or is it like I'm in passion with what I do in life and I attract everything I need? I'm going to be honest. In my early life, I had great abundance consciousness because my dad was highly successful. My dad came from very little, and he worked his way up to the head of NASA. And so I admitted I grew up in an upper middle class home. I had luxuries. I had my own bedroom. I had my own. In fact, I had the whole upstairs of the house to myself. Where I lived, I had my a music studio in my home, and I was able to go back to the backyard, and we had a beautiful patio with a pool and a jacuzzi, and a giant screen television, just library and things I needed. And so my dad was like, yeah, you can achieve this, but you have to believe in abundance. And so I was fortunate. But then what happened is I had my partner, and we were very successful. Then when he died, I went back to school, and all of a sudden I had all this, college debt. It was expensive. I did a double bachelor's, a double master's, a fellowship, and I also got a secondary degree in clinical hypnotherapy. And I think when I add up everything I spent on my education, it was easily $80,000, easily. And I remember being in debt and thinking, like, how am I going to pay my bills? And can I just get by? And guess what I had? Consistent debt. And the people around me, God bless them, but everybody around me, the people I were hanging with, were in the same consciousness. My friends would call me up, and we would sit there and wallow and self-pity. Ain't it awful we can barely pay our rent? Ain't it awful the economy? It isn't fair, and blah, 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 and victim, victim, victim. And finally, what was fascinating is I took a big risk. In 2008, I was teaching a university, and I was miserable. I felt like I was undervalued. I was working long hours. And I love teaching, but I'm like, they're controlling every aspect of my life. I hate getting up at 5, having to, run to get on the freeway, to just be in traffic for an hour to get to the university, park, walk across campus for a mile to go to an office, and then like classes start up, and then it's like, I want a breather for lunch. Nope, I have a student coming in for a meeting, or oh, I can't go home tonight because I have a student recital or an opera or something to do. And I was working literally probably 6 days a week from 8 in the morning till 10 at night. What kind of life is that? And then remember it, like I had to drive home too. So by the time I get home, it'd be like 11 o'clock, and they're like, oh, I have to be up at 5 again. It was horrible. And yes, I made, a good living, but I never seemed to have money. I felt like I was always just barely paying rent and getting by. And in 2008, some things happened. I was in a partnership with a man that's a wonderful man, but we were more a karmic relationship over soulmates. And he pushed a lot of my buttons. We broke up, and that's fine. I wish him the best. It was a great relationship from what I learned from him. And all of a sudden, I, was left with a lot of debt. I was left with no money, and it was 2008 when the economy sucked. And I was in lack, 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 lack. And I literally, don't mind sharing, I filed bankruptcy, Chapter 5, And I started completely over, and I said, and I took a risk. I said, I'm leaving the university life. I'm going to create my own business. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to surrender it. And I went through about 2 very difficult years of, of getting back on my feet, reestablishing credit, and so forth. And things started to get better. And then what was fascinating is during the COVID years, we all had to go inward, and I was able to renovate my business to really be one of the top artist development firms in Southern California. I feel very humbled by that and what I've been able to accomplish and the wonderful, amazing artists I get to work with. And I'm like, wow, look at that. I did that myself. But I had to expand my consciousness. I had to trust. During the COVID years, another thing that happened is I bought a car lemon. I bought a Hyundai Sonata, and it looked like a great car. And the first couple of years was great. Then the whole computer system went out, and I was driving this shit. To me, it turned out to be a shit lemon. And I'm like, there's part of me going, I can't afford a new car. Car payments and getting worried about that. Maybe I have to settle. I said, no, stop it. I'm going to expand my consciousness. I said, I'm going to be able to pay cash for a luxury car. And I held on to the car I hated for about 1 year, but during COVID, I was able to triple my income. And I am very proud of myself, and I paid cash out the door for a luxury high-end Subaru Legacy. Leather seats, Bose system, everything I wanted. Temperature, heated seats. I mean, everything. I was like, oh my God, look what I did. But I had to expand my consciousness. Once I was able to do that, what starts to happen is you get better and better at your abundance consciousness. So now it's just like, it's just like money comes in without me even thinking anymore. And I realize that it's because I'm also doing my passion and I love helping people. And, I don't even have to really advertise that much for students or things I do. It's just like, I have a waiting list now, and I feel so blessed. But I realize that has to do with my own consciousness. What I also will say to anyone that is struggling with fortune or abundance is 3 simple spiritual principles that will help you. Number 1, do your passion. Find out what in life that you want to do that you would do even if you didn't get paid for it. I am passionate about music. I am passionate about drama. I am passionate about fashion, and I'm passionate about metaphysics. I would do it even if I didn't get paid for it. I love it. And because I love it, I attract the money because I'm doing what I love. If you're in a job you hate, you need to start thinking about making changes. Find your passion. Another thing that's a simple thing that I learned in the religious science church, so I want to thank 2 of my Reverend friends. I want to thank, 3. I want to thank Reverend Peggy Price, Reverend Josh Reeves, and Reverend Liz Loma. And they taught me about gratitude. And every day before I go to bed, I have a gratitude journal. So the last thing I do at night is I write 10 things I'm grateful for. Every day. I never miss. And it could be small things. I'm grateful for my hazelnut oat milk latte at my favorite little Italian cafe that has hot waiters. It could be that. It could be like, I am thankful for my students today. I am thankful. I just manifested my landlord just remodeled my kitchen. I got a brand new, beautiful fridge and new things that I wasn't expecting. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for a landlord who took care of that. I'm thankful for neighbors that I've become lifelong friends with, and I live in a harmonious environment. It wasn't always that way. I had a lot of toxic people near me, and I had to work on raising the consciousness of the area I live in and attracting the right kind of people, which I did. So you're that powerful, and I want you to remind yourself of that. Also, here's another thing I've learned. So we talked about, your gratitude journal, doing your passion. The third is live, if possible, around wealth. So even if you don't have wealth, even if you're just living in a studio apartment, choose to live in an area where there's wealth. This is something I've always known. And, when I've always lived where I look out the window and I'm around $5 million mansions or the ocean or beauty. I feel wealthy, therefore you track wealth. If you're living in an apartment building and you look out and you see barbed wire and broken buildings or industrial smoke or whatever, you're going to be depressed and you're going to think, I am not worthy, or I'm not happy or whatever, and it's going to affect your whole life. Where you choose to live is an indicator of your consciousness. I raised my consciousness recently too. I said, I want to have 2 homes. I didn't know how I was going to do that. And I manifest a second beautiful home in Palm Springs to get away to. So when the weather gets like, it's getting too cold in the winter along the ocean, too foggy and too damp, it's like, I'm just going to go to Palm Springs to my second place. And it's a different reflection of me. While my home in Long Beach is Victorian craftsman and sort of old Hollywood, my place in Palm Springs is 1950s sort of modern. It's a different side of my personality, and I love that my environment can shift to how I'm feeling. Like, I think I need my gay friends in Palm Springs, and going to the Purple Room and hearing jazz, and kind of pretending like it's 1950 and that lifestyle, and going out to the desert and laying out nude in my backyard, and then I can come back to my place in Long Beach and enjoy things here. So we have a choice. Also, the people that you choose to hang around is an indicator of your abundance consciousness. I realized that I was hanging around a lot of poor people, and I know that sounds awful, but like when people are poor and they're in victimhood, and you're surrounded by that, it pulls you down. And I decided, I need to get these people that are, a lot of them are lazy. A lot of people, were complaining about their lives of like, I don't have the same opportunities, and, poor me, and, or I would hear racist things like, white man is has more privilege or whatever. And yes, there are some things that are out there, but let's look at people of all races that have look at Oprah. Oprah came from nearly nothing, and she had rape and horrible things in her past, and she's one of the wealthiest women in her world. But she chose to be. She's also an Aquarius, and I admire her. And so no matter where you're starting from, get out of your story. It's so amazing when I hear people stuck in their story, and the reason why it pisses me off is I used to do the same thing. So like, oh my god, my family doesn't love me. Oh my god, my parents don't accept me because I'm gay. Ooh, poor me. Work is hard, and it's all your self-talk. When you start changing that self-talk, you can have fortune. You can manifest amazing things. I recently have a student that is a Mexican gentleman who's a wonderful musician who has come from a more disadvantaged family. Father was never there for him, single mom, that kind of a family. And he just manifested recording his first album. He manifested getting work in an incredible recording studio, working with big name people, including P. Diddy and these rap artists. It's just amazing what you can accomplish. I know I'm spending a lot of time on the fortune card, but your abundance consciousness is very powerful. One last thing, a lot of people are brought up with religion, and specifically Christian religion. You'll hear in the Christian church, it's better to be a poor person and be humble than be wealthy. Give all your money to the church and live a poor, humble life. And what the fuck does that accomplish? If you're poor and down and out and broke, are you happy? Can you help other people? It's the people with tons of abundance that can do the most good in the community. So your abundance uplifts other people. If you have abundance, you can bless your family. You can bless the people you love, right? You can bless your community. And it's not always about monetary. It could be, like if you don't have a lot of monetary right now, it could be like your passion. It could be like, using your talents to help people. I have students that are starting out as they're actors, and they're starting out as, just learning how to teach, and they're volunteering their time at the high schools they went to work on musical theater productions, or they're directing, they're getting involved in community theater. I have students that are working at the YMCA helping kids with art. There's so many things we can do. I have another student who is an actor in Kansas City, and he's working with senior citizens doing an act, a drama club. And what's amazing is, he's changing lives, and building new lifelong friends, and that's a form of abundance. Having that kind of love energy around you. So it's your choice. Okay, choose fortune.